The Dallas Cowboys have found a lot of success on the defensive line specifically over the past couple of weeks, and I think the Dallas Cowboys have a pretty good defensive line. Now, they might not have a true difference maker in terms of like that one instant superstar. They don't have Micah Parsons anymore, obviously, but they have a ton of different guys. And against the Jets, we started to see a glimpse of some of what they might be able to do. And I want to talk about it because the Dallas Cowboys took on a pretty good New York Jets offensive line, and they had a ton of success. So many different guys flashed. And that's the thing with the Cowboys defensive line. There are multiple players that can make plays, and we're starting to see some of this. Against the New York Jets, there were probably 5 or 6 different defensive linemen that made at least 5 or 6 plays over the course of this game. You add that up, that's like 30, 40 plays that are essentially being made by just the defensive linemen. On this one here, you're going to get an Osa Odighizuwa sack. This one's going to lose 14 yards. Just a phenomenal job by the defensive tackle. You look at this play here, you look at the explosiveness, the quickness. You see how he gets out of his stance as the play action. So these offensive linemen are doing what is called the jump set. They're essentially going to mimic that this is a run. They're all going to go forward. They're all going to flow to the left. And that's just sucking the linebackers to try to hit it behind those linebackers. And Odighizuwa does a phenomenal job with the club move. Look at that. Gets right over the top of the center, gets to the quarterback, and brings the quarterback down for a 14-yard sack. It does not get better than that one right there. But Odighizuwa had multiple plays that he made against the Jets. And in today's video, I want to show you guys plays that these guys are making. Not just Odighizuwa. We'll look at Jadeveon Clowney, some of the impacts he's had. Sam Williams had a phenomenal game against the Jets as well. There were multiple guys that were flashing. And again, Kenny Clark, right, continues to flash as well. On this one here, you're going to get a defensive line game. Odighizuwa is going to go up against John Simpson. He's going to slant into Olufashanu. And you're going to see him do a really nice job making sure that those two guys are not going to be able to block him. And he ends up getting through there. Now, he does fall down. Great job still to get up and continue that pressure on the quarterback. 3rd and 5 right here. This is the moment where as a defensive lineman, you got to get home. You got to be able to generate that pressure. This is the moment where games are won and lost. And on this one here, Odighizuwa does a really nice job to get pressure on the quarterback. Of course, quarterback throws it away. Really, really nice rep. You got another really, really nice rep here. This one's going to end up being a 7-yard sack. But on this one, the thing that I like is it's not just Odighizuwa who does this job. Kenny Clark does a phenomenal job on this one. James Houston comes around. He wraps it up as well. Those guys split the sack. But again, just a phenomenal job with the game. If you can execute a defensive line game the right way, it's a thing of beauty, and it's really, really difficult to stop. And, not every defensive lineman knows how to execute these games. And here's an example of a guy that does know how, right? You look at Odighizuwa on this one. He's going to not only slant super hard to the inside, but he recognizes that I have to slant into number 66, but I need to stay on the backside of 66 because Kenny Clark is going to end up coming around that. And if I get to the backside of number 66, there's nothing that 71 or 66 are going to be able to do in terms of switching. One of those guys has to take Odighizuwa, while the other will end up taking the other D tackle, Kenny Clark. And as long as Odighizuwa gets to the backside, and keep an eye here, look at him get right into that backside right there. Once you do that, it's impossible to switch here. The center can either take Kenny Clark and let Odighizuwa go, or he can stick to Odighizuwa. And the right guard's not going to be able to get back over here. And again, this is just a really, really good job. And of course, Kenny Clark gets in there, and James Houston wraps it up and helps kind of bring it down as well. But that's a phenomenal job right there in terms of the defensive line game. And the thing is it just happens so quickly. It's so efficient. And Odighizuwa does not get credit for anything on this play. But he's the guy that is going to be generating that pressure. He's the guy that's going to be basically helping to get that sack, right? Just a phenomenal job. Now let's go ahead and just use that last clip. Obviously, James Houston was one of the guys that got the sack. Let's talk about him a little bit. Houston had a phenomenal day as well, and he's going to wrap up the quarterback on this one. And on this one, quarterback's going to lose 10 yards. This is already 3rd and 19. So this is a hard play to pick up for the offense. But it's a really nicely executed defensive line game again. I am a believer that one player does not make an impact as much as a cohesive unit. What I mean by that is guys like Robert Saleh, guys like, Jesse Minter, and Minter might be a great example of this right now with the Chargers. The great defensive coordinators design games, they design plays, they design certain blitzes and simulated pressures to get to the quarterback, you don't need an elite football player. Mentor's a great example of this. The Chargers don't really have an elite football player, but they are probably the best defense in the NFL right now. And a huge reason is because of plays like what we're seeing the Cowboys being able to properly execute. Think about this play right here. You're going to put all these different guys on the line of scrimmage. You're going to start to show that, hey, this guy might come. There's a corner off the left edge here who's right off the screen here to the left. You got two guys here. The offensive line needs to account for every single one of these players, but do recognize not every single one of these guys are going to end up coming. But what is going to end up happening is you're going to get a three-man defensive line game to the right of your screen. Watch these two defensive tackles and watch how they slant super hard to the inside. And then at the same time, watch Houston come around over the top to the right. This is executed once again perfectly. And Houston's going to get a free shot into the quarterback because the offensive line's not able to swap it. And as I mentioned on the last play, if you're running a defensive line game, and on this one specifically, these three guys are going to have to pick up the three guys here because these two guys are going to essentially slide to the left to the defensive end here, and then there's a corner right off the screen to the left here. So those two guys are going to slide that way. But watch these two defensive tackles. Watch both of them get to the hips of these offensive linemen, and then look at how hard that makes it for those guys to switch. You see here, I think that Solomon Thomas is going to end up getting to the inside hip. Osa also gets to the inside hip. You're not going to be able to swap that if these guys get to the inside hips. It's just not going to happen. And then with that, you see Houston ends up coming free. They're not able to swap it. It just happens too late, and they're going to end up getting the sack on the quarterback. Again, a cohesive unit is so much better than a unit that just has one player and relies mostly on one player. And I'm not saying that was the Cowboys with Parsons. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that the Cowboys defensive line actually looks pretty good. We're now 4, 5, 6 games into the season. Guys like James Houston is really stepping up and he's generating pressure. Sam Williams, which we will talk about in this video here in a second, is also flashing a lot. He's looking really good as well. Houston, to me, though, does provide that veteran pass rusher. And there's a reason why he had 2.5 sacks against the Jets. The guy's getting after the quarterback. And, don't overlook the fact that the Jets have a really, really, really good offensive line. But I'm telling you guys, the Dallas Cowboys defensive line is starting to flash a little bit. It's getting better. It's hard to block because they got a lot of really good players. Jadeveon Clowney, Kenny Clark come over. Those are good, productive football players. James Houston's a productive football player. Osa, we already know, is a top-tier D tackle, and Sam Williams is flashing. Overall, these guys are doing a really, really good job. You got another one here. Just look at the quickness by Houston to be able to generate that pressure. Now, this one does technically get called as a roughing the passer, but just look at how quickly Houston's going to be able to run this game. And you have no shot on this if you're John Simpson and Olu Fashanu, right? You have literally no shot because you have the 3 technique that Simpson has to pass off. Now, I will say this. Thomas doesn't do as good of a job, right? Like, he doesn't do what like Osa did, right? Where Osa attacks the inside hip. But Simpson does a pretty good job passing it off. He's just not quick enough to get over here to Houston. Houston's a very, very fast football player. He has a really good explosive first step. When he puts that foot in the ground, he changes direction. That's a hard thing to get to. And obviously, you're going to get the hit on the quarterback on this one. It's a really, really nice rep. You have a 3rd and 8 here. Houston and Sam Williams will split this one. And again, just a great segue to get into Sam Williams, man. Sam Williams has really looked really, really, really impressive. So Houston, first and foremost, going up against Armin Membaugh. Pretty nice job with like the hezzy. Armin Membaugh really falls for the hezzy on this one. I like the tackle. I think he's a good football player, but he is not the type of player that he's being hyped up to be. Again, he's a good player, being way too hyped in my opinion right now. When he is put out onto an island like this one, this is exactly what happens. Houston, phenomenal hezzy. Right? I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is one of the best hezzy moves I've seen. Because he even slows down within the hezzy, right? Like he explodes upfield, slows down. The tackle falls for it. The tackle even tries putting his hand up to try to bait Houston. And Houston just swats that hand down. Bam. It does not get better than that right there. And of course, Sam Williams also ends up generating pressure. He goes up against the right guard. Just a really good job by Williams. Just a phenomenal, powerful punch. Look at this. It's right out of his sense, bam. And just like that, he gets to the quarterback. And this is 3rd and 8. This is a play you could pick this up if you're the offense. But again, Williams just clubs. I believe that's Tipman right there, former first-round pick. He ends up getting to the quarterback. And let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about Sam Williams, because I think Sam Williams has looked really, really good this season for the Cowboys. And I know he still has some mental mistakes that he'll make. You know, sometimes he'll have bad plays. But the guy flashes. The guy has the athletic profile, the athletic upside. And I think for the next 10 to 15 years, this guy's going to play in the NFL and be a really good, productive football player. Sam Williams, he doesn't have the Michael Parsons movement, but he does almost kind of remind me of a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, where he's strong at the point of attack. He's an elite run defender, in my personal opinion. And here's a great example of this. He's not going to be the first guy that makes this play, but look at him take on number 70 here. And as he takes him on, you see the offensive tackle here really struggle to move him. And this is the backside of a read option, so Sam Williams has no business making this play. But look at him get off the block, tosses the right tackle to the side, and then look at him explode out of there and chase down Breece Hall. This one's going to lose 4 yards. This is 2nd and 4. This flips an entire drive. 2nd and 4 turns into 3rd and 8. And this is the type of run defender that Sam Williams is. The guy is a really, really good football player. And we see him making so many plays, just getting in there, blowing things up. And I should also just kind of throw this out there with Sam Williams. Not every single player taken in the 1st or 2nd round start to be, instant superstars or instant impact players. Some guys take, believe it or not, 3, 4, 5 years sometimes for it to really click. And I believe this is his 4th season with the Cowboys. So this is the season, this is the time where it will start to click a little bit. And I think we are kind of seeing that a little bit, right? We are seeing Sam Williams start to flash a little bit more. And part of that also is that he's just playing a little bit more, right? He has more snaps. So when you look at guys like Marshawn Nealon, when you look at guys like Osa Odighizuwa, sometimes it takes guys a little bit longer, or it will take guys a little bit longer. But Sam Williams is starting to click. Another guy that's starting to flash a little bit is Marist Liufau, man. Talk about changing a game, man. Changing an entire, the momentum, just shifting it with one play. I mean, look at this play right here by Liufau. The guy is an absolute physical monster out there, man. I see so many plays where this guy's just laying people out. I watch every single Cowboys game, and every time I'm watching a special teams play, it's Liufau that's essentially making that impactful play, right? He's the guy that's ultimately blowing things up and hitting people. On this one here, he forces the fumble. Again, talk about changing the momentum. It's a 10-yard run right here. The Jets are about to score a touchdown potentially, and Liufau ends up essentially flipping the game. Just a really, really good job. You got the final play that I want to show you guys with Sam Williams. And then we'll talk a little bit about Kenny Clark. We'll talk a little bit with Jadeveon Clowney. You're going to see Williams once again on the pass rush. He's going to end up getting on the quarterback. It's a pretty nice job right here. He's going up against the right guard. He's on a double hand swipe. He ends up getting double teamed. And then he just pushes right through that double team. And then he essentially gets back into the quarterback. Think about this. Bam, double hand swipe's going to end up beating that right guard. Phenomenal power right there. I mean, look at this. Boom. Hits the right guard, beats him. And honestly, if the right tackle does not help Sam Williams, right, if the pass rush here is wider, Membao is not going to be able to help on Sam Williams. Sam Williams is going to get instant pressure. But you see the help happening there. He still ends up kind of pushing through that, and he still ends up pressuring the quarterback. It's a really, really good job right there. Now, with Kenny Clark, I think a lot of his production, a lot of the things that he's going to do out there, I think it's going to get overlooked because he is more so of he's more of a run defender, nose tackle type of player. He's in there to do all the dirty work. Now, before we move forward, I want to just take the next 60 seconds to talk to you guys about today's sponsor, ProfitX. This is America's #1 sports prediction market. ProfitX is peer-to-peer, so you'll be playing against real users as opposed to traditional sports books where you'll be playing against the house. This means that ProfitX is going to give you much better odds. If you guys want to make picks on the NFL, ProfitX has you covered. But if you're like me and you want to make picks on multiple other sports, ProfitX has you taken care of there as well. From the Ryder Cup to the Premier League, ProfitX has pretty much every major sport. And one of my favorite parts about this platform is that if the odds don't already exist that you want on any given player, you can basically just request it. ProfitX will make it happen. And if you use my link to go sign up right now, ProfitX is going to give you $200 in free money. For every dollar that you put into ProfitX, they will essentially match it. So make sure you guys go check out the link down in the comments below. Let's get right back into the content. Now, with Kenny Clark, I think a lot of his production, a lot of the things that he's going to do out there, I think it's going to get overlooked because he is more so of he's more of a run defender, nose tackle type of player. He's in there to do all the dirty work. And here's an example of a play where he's going to end up running a defensive line game. And look at what he does on this play. He's going to rip with the right arm. He's going to hold on to number 71 here, right? With the right arm. He's trying to hold this guy as he runs his defensive line game. Again, dirty work to try to free up some of these other guys. And he still generates pressure as well. But like a lot of what Kenny Clark's going to do for the Dallas Cowboys, it's going to be overlooked. There's going to be multiple plays where it's run plays or, it's plays where he is running those games. On this one here, he's going to do a great job shedding John Simpson. He doesn't, technically make the play here, but he's right there, right? He gets off the block. He wins the block, the one-on-one that he has. If on this one here, the defensive end does not instantly blow this up, Kenny Clark would technically be right there. And Kenny Clark would obviously be right there to make the play. So again, just a really, really good job. And we already looked at this play earlier. It was a defensive line game with Osa and Clark. But Clark, once again, runs that game, gets off the block, helps get the sack on this one. And there are a couple others where he got close. On this one, he's going to bull rush the left guard. He's going to take him right back into the quarterback. This is 3rd and 5. Quarterback does complete the pass. But again, it's a really, really nice rep by Clark to bull rush the guard. You're going to get a defensive line game on this one. It's just late in the game. It's the 4th quarter. Game's probably already over at this point. But a really nice job once again running that game, right? Pretty nice rep right there. I do also wanted to show you guys some of Mazi Smith's snaps. Now, obviously, a lot of people have written off Mazi Smith as a bust. There are plays he does make. There are flashes he does have. There are moments. I think it's just going to take him a lot longer to become a good football player. Right? He can still develop into a productive player. Now, will he ever be worth the 1st round pick? Who knows? But I will say this, Jordan Davis of the Eagles, it took him until year 4. Right, this year specifically. And Jordan Davis, I think, is one of the hardest defensive tackles to block. Go look at some of that guy's tape from this season. Jordan Davis looks really good. He did not look anything like how he looks this year over the past couple of seasons. So, give Mazi Smith some time. We'll see how he develops over the course of his career. He's still young, and do understand sometimes it takes guys, 4, 5, 6 years to really develop. And Smith also plays a position of defensive tackle where it is the hardest position to develop at, right? I think defensive tackles usually take a long time sometimes to develop. And I think with Mazi Smith, over time, he'll become a good, productive football player. He'll get more consistent, right? Plays like this, where he's causing disruption, he's getting close. It's just a matter of time till he learns to kind of finish on these plays. Give the guy time. Don't write him off yet. I do think he'll develop over the next 2 seasons or so, and we'll see a little bit more from Smith as we kind of go forward. He was a top 2-round prospect for a reason. But the guy does have elite power and strength. He has a lot of athleticism for that size. But we'll see if he can continue to develop. Obviously, I did want to just talk about him a little bit. He does have to develop, right? I'm not saying he's a great football player by any means. There's some plays he wins. Some plays he gets close. Then there's some plays where he just doesn't do anything, right? So just kind of keep in mind, some guys just take a little bit longer to develop. Now, a guy that is not going to take that much longer to develop, in my personal opinion, Donovan Ezeiruaku, and we'll wrap this video up talking about him. I'll show you guys some Jadeveon Clowney snaps as well. But Ezeiruaku looks really, really, really good. And I don't know how else to say this. He's still a rookie, so just understand, I'm not saying he's like an instant superstar and he's going to just be making plays all day, every day. But you see huge flashes on tape. Plays like this, right? And he doesn't make the play, but understand this is one of the best tackles in the NFL right here. And think about how quickly he's able to just swim over the top. You are play actioning. You are showing that this is a duo-based power run concept. And Olu Fashanu is almost going out towards Ezeiruaku on this one. But just look at him get right over the top. Boom. Just like that. You're in the backfield. You won against Olu Fashanu. Now, keep in mind, Ezeiruaku might not even have recognized that this was a pass at the time that he wins. He may think, hey, I'm about to blow this running back up. But he does a really good job winning, and he does a good job being able to generate a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. Here's another one. Once again, he's going to avoid the blocks. He's going to generate some pressure. He's going to get into the backfield. He's going to hit the quarterback. Phenomenal job once again by Donovan Ezeiruaku. Now the running back's going to try to blast into Ezeiruaku. He's going to dive into him, and he just makes a miss right there. That's a good job right there by the defensive end. Now, it is a touchdown, but you see, Ezeiruaku gets in there pretty quickly, right? He gets in there super quickly. Obviously, the quarterback gets the ball out at about the same time he gets hit. But Breece Hall has the job of hitting Ezeiruaku and making sure the quarterback is kept clean. And Breece Hall misses, right? Phenomenal job right there to sidestep the running back and avoid the block. And of course, generates that pressure, gets a hit on the quarterback. Here's another really nice play on this one. He's going to speed rush, but he's going to use a long arm to speed rush. Just a really, really, really good job right here by Donovan Ezeiruaku. And again, Olu Fashanu is a really, really good offensive tackle. And Olu does a pretty nice job countering Ezeiruaku's long arm. You're going to see, as the long arm happens here, watch Olu Fashanu snatch down the long arm. This is exactly what you're taught. And as Ezeiruaku's falling down, he does a good job standing up. And again, you're going to generate that pressure on the quarterback. So again, phenomenal job right there by Ezeiruaku. And he had a hard matchup in this game, right? Olu Fashanu is a good offensive tackle. You see a lot of plays where this guy is in the backfield making plays, and he's also not a full-time starter. So keep in mind, a lot of these guys are limited, right? Like Mazi Smith's playing like 20 snaps a game at this point. Ezeiruaku's playing like 30 to 35 snaps on average, right? So the Cowboys are rotating a lot of different guys, so a lot of guys are coming into play. Ezeiruaku still had, I believe, 6 positive plays according to PFF. This one might have been the biggest play, although the game was probably already over. Ezeiruaku does a phenomenal job. And just think about the speed, man. Think about how quick you have to be to slant outside, come back inside. And I know Justin Fields' sneak was to the left anyways, but how fast you have to be to slant outside, come back inside, and blow it up for no gain. 4th and 1, you're going to get the stop here. Just a really, really, really good rep by the rookie defensive end. I'm telling you guys, I think this guy's going to end up becoming a really good football player in about a year and a half as he gets more comfortable in the NFL. The guy definitely has flashed a lot. We'll wrap it up with Jadeveon Clowney. He had a couple of nice plays. Now, he obviously just came to the Cowboys last week as his first game. So, he's still, he'll take a little bit of time for him to really get to form. There was probably like 2 or 3 good plays that he had where like they're winning reps. He pressured the quarterback. He forced the quarterback off his spot. But Jadeveon Clowney is a really good football player as well, right? Like he was the first overall pick for a reason. I know it hasn't really worked out, but like with the Ravens 2 years ago, Clowney was considered one of the best edge players, right? Like the season he had with the Ravens. And he hasn't really been able to replicate that again, which is kind of weird. But the season he had with the Ravens, people were saying, hey, this is why he was the first overall pick. But you still are getting plays like this where he's generating pressure. He's going to do what is called a skate jump, right? You see him, bam, just jump right to the inside super quickly. And you start this outside, you put the left foot in the ground, and you jump inside. And with that, he's going to end up generating a little bit of pressure. You got to finish this play right here. 2nd and 4 is still an incomplete pass. But you got to be able to finish this play right here for Clowney. But do recognize the guy had no training camp, he had no preseason. So, this is kind of his preseason, essentially, right? Jadeveon Clowney looks good, though. You can definitely see the upside and the potential with him. Give him another 2 weeks, and he'll be your full-time starting edge player, in my opinion. Really, really, really good football player. Does a pretty nice job pushing back the tackle on this one. Overall, man, I really like what the Dallas Cowboys have been able to build up on the defensive line. It's kind of crazy because when the trade initially happened, the first couple of weeks kind of went by. People were kind of making fun of the Dallas Cowboys, saying that this is a weak defense. And it still might not be the perfect defense, but we are seeing flashes from the Cowboys on the defensive side. We're starting to see them have a little bit of success. Let's not overlook, this is an offensive-driven team. All those first-round picks on those offensive linemen, all that money spent on the receivers, the quarterback, the running backs, this is an offensive first team. What that means is the defensive line on the defensive side has to be able to generate pressure, get to the opposing quarterback, and they have to be the ones that change the game. And that's how the Cowboys are built this season. And I do think the Dallas Cowboys defensive line has looked pretty good. And it's just a matter of time till it really clicks and we start seeing consistent games where they're able to blow up teams. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.